Wait, there's something very weak coming through.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
Hello, fellow Galactic listeners. I'm Aaron Hooley, and this is WSTR Galactic Public Access, a Star Wars podcast. Welcome to episode 151. Today, we have a fantastic interview in store for you with Kevin Thomsen, producer of many audiobooks, including almost all of the Star Wars audiobooks. Joining me today is none other than Miss Heather Allred.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah.
Miss Carla Giacalone has the day off. Mr. J.D. Barrow has the day off. Mr. Todd Hoffman has the day off.
Slackers.
I know.
Slackers.
We got all the work that isn't getting done today.
This will reflect on your annual review, you guys.
Yes, this is going on your permanent record. No, it's all good. It's just Heather and Aaron today. But, yeah, let's, without any further ado, let's waste no time. Let's pay the bills with our Audible plug. Although it's not really an Audible plug anymore, we got tons of other stuff
We have lots
going
of
on.
things, yeah.
So let's pay some bills. You can find everybody here, except myself, of course, on social media at WSTR Media, all one word, all lowercase. Email us at mailbox@wstrmedia.com. Leave us a voicemail at 630-557-WSTR. That's 630-557-9787. We want to hear from you, and you, of course, want to hear your gorgeous voice blasted across the galactic holonet. Our entire back catalog of episodes and all relevant links can be found at podcast.wstrmedia.com. And this show is brought to you by Audible. It's the easy, no-risk way to support this podcast and find some entertainment, education, and dare I say, edutainment in the downtime of your day. Audible is, of course, Amazon's premier audiobook streaming service. You can try it out for a month, get one free title of your choice and 2 free Audible originals when you head on over to audibletrial.com/WSTR. That's audibletrial.com/WSTR. We are also brought to you by our merch store over at store.wstrmedia.com. Head on over there. You'll be redirected to our good folks over at Teespring. Find our store there. Cover yourself head to toe in WSTR merch. And think about your loved ones for the holidays. Shopping season is quickly approaching to a close. It'll be over before you know it, but you can snag any kind of Star Wars podcast merch that you need over at store.wstrmedia.com. And we are now brought to you by our Patreon. That is right. We are brought to you by listeners just like you. Thank you. Patreon.com/WSTRmedia. Head on over there and you can find all sorts of neat benefits, including some exclusive audio content. We've got Heather's Holocron, which Heather tells a bit more about.
Yeah, so if you've been listening for a little while to our podcast, or not at all, and this is your first time, I
Welcome.
know lots of things, but I don't know everything. So it's important for me to open up my holocron of knowledge and put stuff in it. So you are exploring with me things that I'm learning. I've got 3 episodes up, and I just got my topic for the 4th one all worked out. So join Patreon now, because you don't want to miss out.
Also, our exclusive audio content includes Starside Chat with me and JD. We get really goofy as we do, but we also dive deeper into some niche topics that may not be just right for our standard episode. But yeah, we have a ton of fun while we're doing that. So all that and more is available to you at patreon.com/WSTRmedia. Thank you to our patrons. Jeremy Myers supporting us at $50 a month. Whew. That is generous. Thank you so much. We also have the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast supporting us. Thank you. And we have the Tatooine Sons supporting us as well. Those are our patrons. Thank you so much. You are footing the bill in more ways than one. So thank you so much for your generous patronage. And you can join them. Head on over to patreon.com/WSTR Media and find out what you are missing out on today. Heather, let's go ahead and tease that news.
I will do so. All right. I have 3 items for you to ponder and think about and wonder and possibly Google during the podcast.
Let's hear it.
Number 1, religion.
Ooh.
That's right. I went there.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2. Would you look at the size of that thing?
What could that be?
I don't know what the thing is, though. And then number 3, R2-D2, is that you?
Oh?
Huh?
All right. Consider my interest piqued.
Excellent, excellent. Oh, Aaron,
All
I
right.
hear something.
Oh, I sense it too.
Is
What could it be?
Is it an intercepted Imperial transmission?
Senator! Intercepted Imperial transmission, Mom.
Okay. Yeah. So we have had our staff, our crack team of investigators, just prowling through the HoloNet, listening in on all open frequencies, and we picked up a transmission from one of you, our listeners, out there in the field. So this comes to us from Matt Swartstrom. He is talking about The Mandalorian, Episode 4. So if you have not seen it, better switch off now. But here's what he has to say. Initial thoughts on The Mandalorian Episode 4, Sanctuary. Or should I call it The Magnificent 2?
Oh.
I had some serious Magnificent 7 vibes while watching this episode. Great episode, and they handled it well, but the story was basically the Magnificent 7 in space. I was hoping that perhaps Cara Dune would join the Mandalorian on his ship at the end of the episode, but alas, no such luck. Hopefully we'll see her more in the future. Amazing show. Can't wait for the next episode. I have spoken. Thank you, Matt, for weighing in on that. Yeah, Heather, do you have any response to that?
Yeah, I don't know that I got the Magnificent 7 vibes, but I'm totally on board with the Cara Dune situation and not joining Mando and figuring out how she'll come back later on in the series, because I do think she is coming back. Otherwise, why would she have been part of the panel at Celebration? I don't know. I just make things up. Yeah, as someone who has successfully now seen all of the current episodes, it continues to just do well and elicit questions and conversation. So, Matt,
All
I
right.
agree and disagree.
Okay, cool. So The Magnificent 7, if you haven't seen it, it's an American remake of a Japanese film called Seven Samurai. And the basic plot is the same. You have a samurai film and a Western film. And the idea is that there's this village. They're being terrorized by these bandits who keep stealing their food and everything. And so they kind of scrabble together what little money that they have, and they hire either 7 cowboys or 7 samurai to come and defend their village from these bandits. And so pretty much like all the characters have to learn to get along with each other and help the villagers defend themselves. And it's essentially the plot of the film. It's a straight 1-to-1 conversion. But they modify a bit. So it's just the 2, Mandalorian and Cara Dune, and the villagers. But I mean, still a good template for a TV episode. And we actually talked about this a bit more in depth on our Starside Chat episode, which is up on our Patreon. And JD and I discussed this, and so I'll leave it at that. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. One thing that is a small concern for me is that these episodes are getting more and more self-contained, where you can just drop in and watch it, and it's basically like another episode in the continuing adventures of the Mandalorian.
Sure.
And I don't want to lose that kind of long arc that we've had for the first 3 episodes, where it's a continuing drama.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they'd lose that. I think they kind of know what they're doing, but it is a concern nonetheless. So thank you, Matt Swartstrom, for sending in. That was sent in our mailbox, mailbox at WSTRmedia.com. Send us your thoughts. Send us your concerns. Send us your fan mail, your hate mail.
Send us
We
Baby
read it all.
Yoda.
Please do. Please do. All right. And with that, let's head on over to the Twitter trash compactor.
Get in there, you big polio! I don't care what you smell! Get in there and don't worry about it!
All right. So it looks like we've had 1 poll. We got spoiled rotten last week with 2 polls, but just 1. Okay. So the question is, do you want the Mandalorian to be unmasked? 3 options. Yes, never, and maybe later. So, Heather, how would you respond to that poll?
I don't know. This was a hard one. This was one that I saw come up on the Twitter feed, and I didn't know how to answer it, so I didn't, knowing that I was just buying my time until you asked me on the podcast. I'm going to go with maybe later as my answer. I really want to say never. I really love when we were talking in last week's episode 150, loving the idea that he doesn't take his mask off. I mean, clearly there is one scene in the show where he does take his helmet off when nobody's around and that kind of thing, because guys got to eat. But at this point, from what I've seen and what I know of the world, if he were to take it off, I would hope that it was done within the right setting of the show and the plot and the purpose and the meaning.
Yeah.
It'd be sad to never see Pedro's face, I guess.
Okay. I'm going to disagree with you there. I'm in the never camp.
Never.
I think it's important when considering like the kind of cowboy samurai archetype that he is, that Mandalorian is, I don't think should ever have a name or a face.
Sure.
Because he's that archetype of like the lone warrior, the gunslinger type.
Yeah.
Where who he is not nearly as important as what he does.
That's a great point.
And you'd kind of be ruining that by showing his face. It's kind of like you can't have Indiana Jones without the hat and the whip and the kind of the rest of his outfit, because just like James Bond, Indiana Jones is not meant to be a complex character. He's meant to more be a symbol. And if you change the outfit, you ruin a lot of that. You lose a lot of the meaning of that symbol. I think there's really only once in the I guess 3-4 movies where he was not in that outfit, and it was at the beginning of Temple of Doom, where he's in Club Obi-Wan, and he's in a white tuxedo, and it's significant because it's a detour from that main look. So in a purely reductionist manner, no, it doesn't matter what outfit the Mandalorian has on, but at the same time, it's everything.
Right.
Because he is a Mandalorian and he's that samurai cowboy archetype. So I would vote never.
Okay.
But Heather, it would seem that Twitter would agree with you. The wisdom of the masses says maybe later, with 59% of the vote, followed by 35% saying never, and 6% saying yes, they want the Mandalorian to be unmasked.
Okay. The people have spoken.
The people have spoken.
And now for our feature presentation.
Okay. This is our main topic. We are with Kevin Thomsen. He is a producer on numerous Star Wars audiobooks, and he has worked with Mark Thompson, who a few episodes back we interviewed, who has narrated a bunch of Star Wars audiobooks. And today we are here with Kevin to discuss Star Wars, his role in producing audiobooks, and all that and more. So welcome to the show, Kevin.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Nice to have you. All right, so let's just jump right into it. What was your first exposure to Star Wars? How did you first get that connection?
Well, it started back in 1977. I was living in Berkeley, California. I was in the going into the 10th grade, and during the summer between 9th and 10th grade, I was with some friends making a little Super 8 movie, like rear screen projection, Harryhausen, sorry.
Right.
And we were coming down out of the Berkeley Hills. We shot something, and we went to see The Man Who Fell to Earth. And before that, at the Olmwood Theater in Berkeley, California, they ran a Star Wars trailer. And we were like, holy poop. Can I swear?
This is a family-friendly podcast, I'm afraid.
I said, holy poop.
Yeah.
And it was literally, I like the Maxwell commercial. Our hair was blown back. And we were just like, we'd never seen anything like that before. And then we stayed and watched it again and then left and we just like buzzed it. And then finished our little movie. I went through high school. And then one of the guys at that, I went and saw it that summer and so forth. And one of my friends, Craig Barron, was one of the guys working on the film. And Craig later went after the summer after high school, 1979, went across the bay to the ranch and sat there and begged his way in. And he was loading cameras in the Mac department for episode 5. And then for a long time, he actually had, he closed it a few years ago, the last glass mat company in Hollywood.
Wow.
And he had his own page, and the original, the very first kind of ILM coffee table book, he had his own page. And then kind of floating through life, and then about 1994, I was just getting into audiobooks. I had maybe done, I met a guy in a cafe in New York, and he kind of I was writing something at the time, and he pulled me in to do some kind of pitch this thing, this kind of a short mystery thing for the phone back when you could do these phone things at 900 lines.
Oh yeah.
And he had come out of the audiobook world, kind of out of Cadman, like very early audiobook stuff. And then he got hired by Time Warner Audiobook. He was brought on as a producer. And then he basically just hired me to produce for him. And one of the first things I did was Tales of the Jedi, which was a Dark Horse comic. And huge in-person audition. Saw I cast 25 actors for 50 parts. Huge production. It was like 3 hours. Just massive. And then after that, pretty shortly after that, I did the original trilogy, which had never been done on audio. The audio books for the first episodes 4, 5, and 6. And episode 4, of course, still had on it George Lucas as the author. When he, of course, everyone knows he wasn't the actual author. And I did those with, of all people, Tony Roberts. And it was just surreal because he had Han Solo sounding like Humphrey Bogart. His Yoda was just, it was a bumpy ride. But I got this amazing, like the effects list I requested from Lucasfilm was huge because I was everything from the first 3 movies. So they sent me these on a format called ADAT, which doesn't even exist anymore. All these, like all the R2-D2, all the C-3PO walk cycle, everything. The original, actual raw Jabba the Hutt files from the actual recording, and you could hear like it was processed live. It was like now we do all the processing in post.
Right.
Then it was being processed out of the booth. The line out of the booth is being processed, recording it processed. So you could hear the talk back. Like, well, was it okay? All the Wookiee stuff. I mean, everything, Ewoks, everything, which I still have. I still use them. I've asked for a lot more things, obviously, since then for Phantom Menace and then the other ones and everything else. And then, God, I've then some other short ones, a couple of kid ones, and then I was hired by Kid Rhino, did a kids division to do Phantom Menace, to do not the adult version. It's the only movie I haven't done an adult novel tie-in for.
Right.
I did 2 kids versions, did one read along and one Junior Jedi kit, and they spent so much money. Oh my God. The licenses, because George Lucas Lucasfilm invented licensing. And everyone jumped on board and spent all this money. I got a gold record hanging on my wall from the sales from the read along. And great story about that was so we're doing this a year before the film came out, the summer before the film came out.
Yeah,
I'm producing this, and it was called a secret, code name is called Helicopter Rescue. Nobody could know that we're working on it. Nobody could know they're auditioning for it. So I do audition for all these characters, including Jar Jar Binks, and nobody had any idea what they're auditioning for. And guys would come and go, what is this? What? Okay. And all like fake names. And I said, okay, and now you're going to have to sound like this. And I would play it for them. They go, what the fudge is that? What?
Oh, no.
And it was just like watching their faces was just magical. And then at the end, I would say, okay, now I need like this character. It sounds kind of like Yoda, but so like do your best Yoda. They go, oh, okay,
but it was Yoda.
I'll do yeah. They by then they're like, I know, yeah. And then so we record the whole thing, mix the whole thing in surround sound, right?
Wow.
And this is like 1994, 5? No, it's after that.
98.
Was it 98? And then no, when did it come out?
99.
Yeah, 98. And then we finish it. It sounds amazing. Spent days on the mix. And of course, I have not seen any of the film. I've not read the script. I've just seen the adaptation that I have. And I send it off. It goes off to Lucasfilm for approval. And it comes back. Why don't you just use the regular voices? Just use the actors in the film. So they pulled after I auditioned, and then all this, and I had to pull all the voices out and put all the movie actors in.
Oh no!
And because the script had been adapted, and the rule was it has to be word perfect. Any line you use has to be in the movie. So what the adapter did was he would take like a scene that has like 3 Qui-Gon lines in a row and put them all in one speech, one 3-line speech, right? So then I would get the first of those 3 lines would be production recorded on set. The second line was ADR, perfectly clean in a sound studio in London or LA, whatever.
Right.
And the third line back to production. So I had to take those 3 lines and we had to make them work. You had to kind of clean up the first and third, and it was a long process.
Yeah.
But it sounded great, and I got a gold record. And then I took a break to do, I did a show on MTV, a creative show for MTV, did that for a year and a half, and then got back into it and did a bunch of science fiction. And I started working for Random House. My wife had started working for them when I was doing the TV show. And I said, well, just, pass them along some of the stuff I've done. I did some pretty impressive stuff for Time Warner. And so she brought a bunch of my product in, and they were really fancy packaging for the Star Wars stuff. And the next thing you know, I did a bunch of, what were they called? They were kind of Anakin, between episode 1 and 2, there were these short YA novels about like Anakin going off on these little missions, test him and train him as a Jedi.
Yeah, I remember reading some of those.
Remember that? Yeah, I did
those
on audio, and those are kind of cool. And then I did for episode 2, I did there were 3 versions of it. I did one of them. And I had done a lot. I was doing a lot more of this than the other 2 guys doing the other 2 versions. They had no idea what the hell they were doing. And then after that, I got all the Star Wars for Random House. And I've been doing it ever since, pretty much.
Okay.
That's crazy and great.
Crazy, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And there are a few I don't do. There's a couple I haven't done, but yeah, all the rest I do. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. So just walking back here, you had that initial exposure to Star Wars at a young age. Blew your hair back.
Yes.
And so what was that? When you first got into producing audiobooks, was that like the first project that you started with, or was that something after a few unrelated works that you kind of jumped on?
I've done probably total. I mean, at the beginning it was I hadn't done a lot. I did a few small things. That it's like one of the first things I did was the Magic School Bus. Yeah. I was doing kind of adaptations and direction for those, and the very first one of those I did was one of the very first things I did in audio, and it was nominated for a Grammy. They had that time they had a kids Grammy, and didn't win. Lion King won. Lion King came out the same year, so obviously
there's no fighting that.
Nah, it's Disney. Step back. And then I had done some other stuff, but not quite. I mean, this is back when Time Warner Audiobooks. This is back when they were a combination. The money came from, I think, Warner Music at first and Warner Books, and they had tons of money. They had their own entire floor of a building in Beverly Hills. They had a composer on staff. They were doing all kinds of huge licenses. They had the Star Wars license. They had deals with like the Magic School Bus and Space Jam. I did a lot of DC comic stuff also back then. I did a lot of Batman and Superman, not just audio, but I did a video game, a Batman video game, some toys, some animated stuff. I wrote a bunch of stuff for them, did a lot of adaptation for them myself. But I'd been a writer for a long time. And then slowly it just kind of turned into all kinds of other audiobooks, and the DC stuff kind of dropped off in the probably the late 90s, early 2000s. I did some Justice League stuff, early 2000s.
Right. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. So let's change gears a little bit here. Let's say you've got the pitch for an audiobook or an audio work. What does the process look like beginning to end? Like, how do you get started on something like that?
Well, the first thing you got to figure out is kind of the schedule. What's our schedule? What the due date is, and you kind of go back from there. Like this is the hard drop dead date that it's due to, upload or CD, printing, whatever. And then you figure out kind of going back from there, kind of when it's going to go to QC, when's it going to go, when's the mix going to happen, when's the recording going to happen. And then you cast from that and figure out who's around, who's available. And then, all the casting has to be approved, obviously, by Lucasfilm. And then there's kind of a stable of people that have been developed over the years. And then it's usually somebody from that stable. Yeah. And then we record and then edit. There's a long pre-mix period, a long mix period. Pickups are done at some point in there. It's goes to QC, which is quality control, which then it's listened to by somebody, completely separate from the production. Right. Who then sends back notes saying mistakes, whatever. This, is that the right voice for that? Is that the processing? Is that the same for that? And then this word was wrong, whatever. And then the actor comes back in, we fix the whole thing, and it's done. And that whole process takes probably 2 months. Go ahead.
Wow. Kevin, so when you're talking about the actors and the different characters and stuff, are you working with one voice actor, or have you worked on projects that have multiple voice actors?
Oh yeah. No, we just did there was it was called Dooku. So I forgot the subtitle. It just came out we did it in the spring. We did it in April, May, I think, and then it came out in the summertime. Yeah, it had probably 12, 13 actors.
Wow.
Playing probably 40, 50 parts. 6 hours. It's huge. Have you heard that yet? by any chance? The Dooku one?
I have not. I think Todd has. He couldn't make it tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, Todd, dude. It's really good. It's a little. It's very ambitious. It's sprawling. It jumps around in time. There's like 132 scenes in it.
Wow.
That's large for an audiobook.
It's well beyond an audiobook. It's a radio drama. It was not a book. It was never a book.
Gotcha.
It was an audio. It was the audio version first, and then the book came out actually. And there was talk of like maybe not even publishing the script. And then I think it did well enough that it warranted publication, so they published the actual script. Just came out a month or two ago.
Interesting.
And there's going to be more of that coming up soon, which I can't talk about. But there's something going into production in February.
Nice.
Which is I mean Dooku, fascinating character, fascinating, but the new one coming up is going to be much more exciting. They're probably going to kill me for even mentioning it because they like to control everything.
And we don't want our podcast destroyed by Disney. So,
No.
So, you probably don't know this. I'm an audio engineer. I work at a radio station.
Cool.
And I've actually worked on audio dramas before. So, this is maybe more of a philosophical question related to that, but how do you get meaning from sound insofar as recording, editing? How do you take elements of a story and I guess transmute that, for lack of a better term, through the medium that you're working with?
Wow. Well, see that there's slowly over the years, I guess everyone has their own. You have to create a set of rules for yourself. I mean, mainly, it's a set of rules for the listener. What are they going to hear if a door opens? Are they going to hear it? I mean, this is like we can get a full mix. When you're doing, again, and Star Wars is kind of always a full mix. It's a full production. It's wall to wall, sound effects, and a lot of music.
Yeah,
there's a lot of great music. And it's just and we try to trim back because 10 years ago, like this is just too much. We're finding ourselves like Mickey Mousing every scene, and you can't have every like a drink that's poured. You can't. I mean, you have to stop at some point. No. You can't hear the ice. Let's not do. We're going to spend 10 minutes looking for ice cubes.
Yeah.
And I've been working with the same guy, Paul Goodrich at Merlin Music. We did when we were first doing that trilogy, the first episode 4, 5, 6, first time ever done audiobook, whatever, like 1994, 95, whatever that was. And I was doing it with. It was kind of a crash. I have no idea. The books have been out for a decade. Why it's a crash, I have no idea. But suddenly it's like we have to get this done. So I split the mix up between two different studios. And I would go to one place. I won't even say who they are, even exist anymore. There for like most of it, and this other guy Paul for some of it. And Paul was much quicker. And also a fan. He's a huge science fiction fan and Star Wars fan. So he just knew, and we had a rapport. And back then we were working on Pro Tools. I mean, he beta tested for Pro Tools. He beta tested for Sound Tool before Pro Tools.
Yeah.
So we were on the bleeding edge of like having to submix all this stuff. Like I remember for the Tales of the Jedi. I mean, we just spent hours, and of course we're pressing it to the limit, and it's crashing a lot. And a crash back then, if you're going to pull up a 16-track mix or an 8-track mix, it takes 10 minutes to boot up.
Wow.
Right, for the Mac to boot up, and then Pro Tools to boot up.
Yeah.
It's a lot of swearing every single time. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And so many nights working, all night. And I remember we went to we were mixing something. And we was an all-nighter, and then the next morning, we're seeing Revenge of the Sith. There's a special screening for licensor in Times Square, one of the theaters on 42nd, at like 9 a.m. So we're walking across time because the studio's on 46, the Equity Building, not Times Square, and we're going down, and we're both like no sleep for like 2 days, walking over to see this going, oh, cool. And we're just so over it. We're mixing like, at this point, we're mixing like a sequel book or something, or a prequel or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And and I fell asleep during it.
Oh no.
Like right
Wow.
in like the 10th row, right in the middle. Next to me is one of the EPs from Random House. And I just like he'd like elbow me, dude, wake up. It's like the end. I'm like, oh really? Are they killing all the Jedi yet? Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
But many late nights, and over the years, like I said, working thousands of hours on these. Because if you add it up, it's the equivalent of like, I did the math one time, like an average of like 8 hours. Like I think 110, 120 projects.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what, 800. And if you divide that by 2, it's the equivalent of 400 movies.
Yeah. Wow.
Which is, insane, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's insane. And they're not by anywhere nearly as complex sonically as a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But still.
Yeah. It's a lot.
It's a lot. And then, what was the question? I forgot the question.
Essentially, like, how do you take the story and like use audio as a medium to transfer the meaning to the listener?
I wouldn't. I mean, it's for the Star Wars. It's just so second nature at this point.
Yeah.
And I'm marking the script. I always work on a hard copy, and I mark the script as we're recording. I'm circling and I'm highlighting all the processed voice stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm figuring out like, oh, this is that character. This is the standard comm or hologram, whatever. And I'm marking for new characters. I'm giving suggestions, writing things in the margin. I'm circling everything we want to hit. I'm putting X's with a circle, which means open for this effect. Like if there's a big explosion, I want this stuffing on the next couple of words. We're going to open 3 seconds for that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And he knows and then he can just go through when I'm not there. Because originally I would mark the script and we both sit down together, page 1, and go through it. And it's a lot of time. And we have a huge reservoir of sound effects to pull from, not just the Star Wars one, but other ones as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the music is in there. I have the music all cataloged by every cue is chopped up into all the different segments, so I can kind of figure out which minute and 12 seconds I need for that cue. It might be one of these 3. I'll bring in 3 cues, and we'll play them each against the scene and see which works. And occasionally I'll cobble a couple of cues together, which is always fun. Taking this bit from, A New Hope and matching and coming in with Revenge of the Sith at some point. There's not a lot of Sith music in the Star Wars films, which is a real problem.
Yeah, that's a shame.
That's this. and Phantom Menace has the best music of all the movies, of the first 6. But that's again my opinion. I guess the trick always has to be what tells the story the best, what illuminates or highlights the story. You don't ever want to get in the way of the story, and you can't get in the way of the word. The story is in the words for the most part.
Right.
And I do a lot of cutting of attributions just to keep it clipping. The he said, she said, when it's obvious who's talking, especially if one's processed or a droid or an extreme character. You don't have to say that's R2, that's C3PO. We know who that is.
Right.
We know that's Jabba. We know that's whoever. So I have a lot of license with cutting things, especially if it's not YA. If it's a young adult novel, the imprint at Random House is wants to be word perfect. Because there's a whole because there are people who learn how to read through audiobook.
Oh, sure.
The literacy thing. And the first celebration I went to like 7.5 years ago, there was an audiobook thing, and it was well attended. 100 people showed up, but a guy beforehand came up and said, "Star Wars audiobook saved my life," and that was his first line. And you're like, "Well, okay, hi." And he said, "No, serious." He said, "No, seriously." He says, I couldn't read, and Star Wars audiobooks taught me to read, and it got me to graduate school, and it got me where I am right now.
Wow.
It's like, wow, that's amazing. That's
it is.
And I can't take credit for that. I mean, a tiny bit, but it's like just he's a fan, and And something else, which I've always I always consider, in other books I do, it's like, yeah, that's kind of, I'm churning out, doing whatever. A lot of amazing books, a lot of great books, a lot of good books, and some just kind of book books. Today I was working on an amazing book, but often it's just, it's a bestseller, it's huge, whatever. And, but the Star Wars books, because of the fans, I've always viewed it as, I'm doing this for the fans. I'm making the fans happy. And especially back in the expanded universe stuff, the idea before it became canon, there was a real sense of, because there were no movies, we're tracking an unknown territory, especially going forward into Jason and Jay and all that stuff, right?
Right.
And basically, we were creating. I mean, the books exist, the books create their own world, but the audiobooks are dramatizing that, are making that kind of come alive a little bit. So we're kind of we're kind of making the tunnels so you can crawl down them, so you can keep exploring, so the universe keeps going, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And so there's a real responsibility there, right, to continue the magic. The spell has to continue, and there's no movie to keep selling this, so it's just you and these actors and a few sound effects, a little bit of music, and you got to keep making the magic.
Right. Well, and you,
No
Kevin,
pressure.
because you're the one getting it all mixed and pretty sounding for us. So,
Well, thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
So you've talked a lot about the prequels and the original trilogy in some of the work that you've done. What part of the Star Wars universe have you not touched that you would get really excited about to work on?
Well, well, two things.
Or are you and you can't talk about it?
One, I'm very excited about this thing I can't talk about coming up soon. For Penguin Random House. It'll be amazing. It's a character which I don't think has ever been brought to life. Very, very popular character.
Interesting.
And it's gonna be so fun.
Have you ever voiced anything for any of your audiobooks you've produced?
Yes.
Nice.
Oh yeah. I'll often. I mean, I was an actor for a long time.
Oh, okay.
And which is part of what gives me kind of a lot of the facility to talk to actors. Because a lot of times, the easiest and quickest way, because there's not a lot of time in a recording session. You don't want to take the time.
Sure.
There's not time basically to rehearse, to find all that kind of stuff. So basically, the actors have to walk in for opening night. Right. And because, this is going to be sold to people. People are going to be buying this. You have to deliver. Right. And so the quickest way to do that is to give them a line reading. Just to go, da, 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 and just say it like this. Because, and also, especially the multicast stuff, I know it has to all come together. And, and the guy saying, ow, isn't here today. But you have to say, ah. Right. For that ow to make sense. Because he's going to be here tomorrow going, ow. And you better go, ah, yeah.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is. But that's the very simplistic version of it. But
sure.
Yeah. A lot of that. So occasionally something will get forgotten. And many times I've had to jump in the booth and do something. So, a letter, my leech, whatever, that kind of supernumerary little cameo thing.
Right.
Yes.
Very cool. Well, we are about running out of time on here, but
oh my God!
I know
you must have more questions. You must have more questions.
We do, but we don't have more time. We got to let you go. But
no.
we do appreciate you being on the show today. Are you on the social media? Where can people find you?
I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. Although I don't do a lot of Twitter. I should. I have a nonprofit which I should do more stuff with, but I don't really. I guess.
Can you plug it? What's your nonprofit?
Yeah, tell us the nonprofit.
The nonprofit is called the Red Trunk Project. It's for teaching kids about other cultures around the world.
That's cool.
I just got back from the first trunk is on the culture of Oaxaca, Mexico. It's in 14 school districts. Like 12 of the trunks are like flying around the country. New Jersey, New York, California. I just came back from Kenya a month ago. The next trunk is on Kenya.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
The schoolroom gets a huge trunk full of artifacts, like 60 artifacts. There are a lot of videos attached to it, 16 videos that contextualize. There's a booklet of kids' life in that culture. There's a lesson plan. There's ethnographies. There's all kinds of stuff. And
Wow,
then
that's
the idea
amazing.
being that if you give kids an in-depth kind of deep dive into one culture, it'll give them the tools they need to kind of undecode or unlock any culture throughout their life they come across, right? To begin to have those tools. It's aimed at third grade right now in New York.
Mm-hmm.
There's a kindergarten version, a high school version down the road. A big online presence eventually. I get the money to like create the website. There's one website now just for like an existing one, just for like people to find out about it and kind of look through it and see what it is. But there'll be a kids version and a separate website app down the road.
Right.
So that's gonna be quite expensive to make. Red
I
Truck
can imagine.
Project. Go check it out. And then yeah.
Alrighty. Well, thank you so much, Kevin.
Thank you.
And yeah, wherever your journey takes you, we wish you luck, and may the force be with you.
Thank you, and you too.
All right. Take it easy.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
All right. Well, this week is going to be a fairly short, but potentially very exciting Cantina Chat.
There it is.
As we know, Carla's out, but according to her social media, she did some fun trooping this
she's been
past
busy.
week, right? She got on the big screen at a hockey game, and
Yep.
she's like famous now.
I know. Like, what are we doing with her on the podcast?
Seriously, right?
Don't touch that.
JD, I don't know. JD's the wild card of this party.
Yeah.
He had finals and stuff.
I'll speak for him during
Great.
my turn.
Great.
Which
is right now.
Let's not go. Let's get into it. Okay. So, busy times. It is finals week. By the time you hear this, I'll be done with it. But we are studying our butts off, and taking care of homework and tests and papers and all that. Busy time. But we did make time this past Saturday for our final Star Wars RPG session of the semester.
Nice.
Consider it like the season finale, and we wrapped up some. We almost need like a whole separate podcast show just to discuss our campaign.
Right.
So I can't get into it too much here, except suffice it to say that our characters who were kind of in a tussle the last couple of sessions based on some misunderstandings and some choices that, while understandable, were also not that good. We basically had our allegiances tested by this ancient Sith artifact, and we managed to actually have honest conversation about it and kind of set aside our differences to work together. The huge main arc of the story is that we need to gather 5 artifacts, ancient Sith artifacts, in order to unlock this ancient Sith tomb. We are being forced to do so by a member of the Sith Empire thousands of years before any of the events of the original movies. If we don't, we die. So that's pretty good motivation. But while we're doing this, we're learning that there's a lot more going on than meets the eye. And so at the end of this last session, we gathered the third of 5 artifacts. There are 2 more to go. There's some pretty dramatic stuff that happened that I can't quite get into. Yeah, it was a bombshell. Closed out the season really well, and I'm really irritated that I need to wait until like the middle of January to pick up on this. But that's the nature of such things. In the meantime, I have my other Dungeons and Dragons group to play with, and that will keep going. So I'll have my fill a little bit, but man, it was so great. JD, he does a great job at setting the stage and telling the story and kind of setting up these impossible no-win scenarios. But we have to make choices anyway. And so thank you, JD. Thank you, the rest of the group there, for playing. We'll pick it up again in January.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Well, I will do the same. I'll speak for Todd just a little bit here. Todd and I on last Friday night trooped together.
Hey. Look at that.
So Forest Park, Illinois had their like city walk where you go through the downtown and stop at a few shops and do fun things. And it happened to have a somewhat Star Wars theme at one of the shops, which is where we were. It was an insurance agency.
Awesome.
So we were outside in the cold.
Fun.
But this time, Heather wore fleece-lined leggings, so she stayed toasty warm.
There you go.
Yeah. So it was great. I stole someone's phone, and then I was stopped by a stormtrooper and was told to give it back.
Oh, that's funny.
And it was very sad. I think that 17-year-old girl had no idea what was going on.
Oh, wow.
So, and then because it was outside and at night, my Jawa eyes were like sparkling. They're glorious, glowing. And this woman was walking her dog, and the dog saw me and freaked out.
Oh, no.
Oh, it was so great and awful at the same time. It looked like
a demon.
I probably.
Yeah.
Demon.
Oh, that's funny.
Protect the village. So he and I did that, and it was all Christmas themed. So I know he threw some stuff up on our social medias, WSTR Media, all lowercase, all one word. And he wore his ugly Christmas sweater, and I had a candy cane that I held children with. It's fine. And that was a lot of fun. And because I'm crazy, I went to a library event Saturday morning the next day.
Ooh.
And trooped there.
Wow. You never quit.
Well, I guess they had some people drop out, and they're like, Heather, we need more people. And it was like 20 minutes from my house. And I said, sure. So, but that was tons of fun too. And
all right.
And I bought a Jawa blaster.
There you go.
Because, I gotta protect myself.
Yeah. I guess those
Mandalorians.
Yep. Gotta watch out for those.
So that's kind of what's been going on in my world and a little bit of Todd's world.
All right. And with that, let's head into our news of the week.
And now, the Star Wars news of the week.
All right, Aaron. So you heard my first word, right?
Yes, I did.
Religion. So theguardian.com put out an article headlining Daisy Ridley with then a quote, J.J. Abrams warned me that Star Wars is a religion. Now,
let's hear about it.
I'm going to forewarn our listeners, this is a fairly decently sized article, but I'm not going to read all of it to you because that would be boring. But please check it out on theguardian.com website. But the article kind of just goes through, having, early memories, West London, kind of going through being like, I'm shy, and then running out of the room. And so some really cute, moments. But now at age 27, Ridley finds herself at the center of the universe. 3 Star Wars films under her belt. She is now adjusting to layers of fame with a gilded A-list Hollywood that comes with red carpet, stylists, outfits, all the things that apparently comes with being famous. I don't really know. I'm not famous. But it goes on to say, I'm the strongest and healthiest I've ever been. I didn't get injured once while on set. I actually got my kickboxing green belt during filming, which really felt like something. It was honestly the best thing ever. There was one other part, Aaron. What was it?
There's a part where it says, from the start, Abrams warned her to understand the scale of what she was taking on. Quote, this is not a role in a movie. This is a religion for people. It changes things on a level that is inconceivable, end quote.
Thank you. I found it as you started reading it because, it's a long
That's
article,
how it works.
people. So it's a fun little article as you go through kind of just about her experience, some things that she's learned with social media, awkward conversation, what it's like to now be part of this quote unquote Star Wars religion, the Disney world, what it's like to communicate things to the general public. And from what I see here, she is handling it with a lot of poise and grace. And so, Aaron, talk to me about your opinion about this whole Star Wars as a religion thing. What's your gut reaction to that statement?
So I've talked before about how a lot of fandom seems to mirror kind of aspects of religion in kind of like a secular religion. And so one of the examples I've given before is the use of icons and artifacts during the Middle Ages, and that they're kind of meant to be I can't think of the right word for what I'm talking about, but it's stuff like the Shroud of Turin that reportedly was on Jesus's face as he lay in the tomb, and it's like it's the idea is that relics. That's the term. It's the idea that these holy relics were like adjacent to the thing that you worship, and because of that, they have their own significance, not in and of themselves, but that because they were adjacent to these figures of worship, and because of that, some of their aspects have rubbed off on them. And if you spend time kind of gazing, contemplating on these things, that kind of holy aspect can rub off on you as well by proxy. And what I've just described is autographs and exclusive merchandise and fan appearances and conventions. It's like you need to look at it again if you don't think that's religion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, but what makes it weird is that these are fictional characters, but they're represented by real people, and you get this weird kind of intersection where those two meet. And for Daisy Ridley, the actor, she's not Rey during her normal everyday life, but because of how interconnected we are with social media and how easily accessible that is and how it follows you around, you get this weird thing where it's like the followers of the religion, they can meet their God, as it were. And I'm speaking in figurative terms, of course, but this is not something we've ever really experienced in human history before. And so what that means is, like, friends of Daisy Ridley, they have to turn their phones off at dinner and not tell any of their followers where they're going to dinner that night and things like that, because it's not just being mobbed by adoring fans, but it's also opening yourself up to potential danger too for people who don't like you.
Right.
And it's just so surreal. So, and what that means for the fandom is that you've by playing character of Rey, she's kind of like entered into the canon of scripture, so to speak, and that she will forever be part of this kind of greater body of stories and lore that fill up this religion. And to say yes to something like that, it's not just an acting job. It's something a lot more than that, in a way that few other experiences are. And so I don't know what kind of conclusion to draw from that, except it's just a surreal experience. And it's something to pay attention to, I think.
Yeah, I think that's beautifully spoken. I think it's true that, I remember having a conversation about sports, which is odd for me, but how the way people respond to certain teams with the jerseys and the sports memorabilia and all of that, and how there is a different culture / potential religion, and we worship these people and what they do, that it very much can translate into something within the film industry for sure. So I think we do have to keep remembering that the actor and the role in the film are two separate entities. And that if Star Wars is a religion for you, please don't blame the actors and actresses.
Yeah, don't take it too seriously here.
That's right. That's right. Oh man. All right.
Let's move on to our next article here.
Yeah.
This is from People magazine. They're talking about Disney's Star Wars Rise of the Resistance ride. It debuts and it's supersized in every way. So as you go through the Rise of Resistance ride at Galaxy's Edge, you're going to be met with an army of stormtroopers, at least 36 lined up in neat rows. They stare down everyone who enters the gleaming walls of a massive hangar on a First Order Star Destroyer. So when they were designing Galaxy's Edge, there were basically two. This is producer John Georges, by the way. There's basically two experiences that fans wanted most in an attraction, and one of them was we want to be on the Millennium Falcon. Mm-hmm. The other is we want to be on the deck of a Star Destroyer. And so the Rise of the Resistance ride is fulfilling that, and it is huge. It is 165,000 square feet, which is 2/3 bigger than your average Costco.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It includes, I don't know if it's full scale AT-AT walkers with Poe Dameron's X-Wing starfighter, multi-story ship decks. This thing is gigantic. You just got to see pictures of it. It's a 15-minute fully immersive experience, so it's fairly long for an attraction. And as even just going through the line is an experience, which, by the way, I love about Disney, is that they know you're going to be waiting for a ride for a long time, and so they do what they can to make it as immersive and fun an experience as possible. And this Rise of the Resistance ride is no exception. So it is debuted. It completes the 14-acre Galaxy's Edge rollout. And so what happens during this is you get on board a full-sized Resistance transport shuttle before being intercepted by the First Order, with Kylo Ren using the Force to send riders on some unexpected twists and turns. So a lot of you'll see cameos by a lot of the cast, including Daisy Ridley, who appears in a hologram, Oscar Isaac, Domhnall Gleeson, droids and aliens make cameos. And they have Disney cast members serving as First Order troops aboard the Star Destroyer. If you've been on the Tower of Terror or the Haunted Mansion, the cast members who are even just in line, they add to the experience so much, and this is no exception. So Heather, you've been to Galaxy's Edge.
I have indeed.
But you've not been on Rise of the Resistance.
I have not.
What are your thoughts on this? Is this making you wanting to head back?
It sure does. I think I didn't have the pleasure of riding the Millennium Falcon ride, which I've heard mixed reviews on. And so this one and some of what I've seen, not only in this article but on some other things I follow. Ashley Eckstein on the social medias, and of course she's very much in the Star Wars world. She got to go, do the ride and everything, and it looks really intense, and it looks like something Star Wars fans want to be immersed in. So I definitely want to go exactly why you said, Aaron. I want to see it from the minute you walk into the line to the minute you're out, because it's not just I'm in a room with the roped off lines. Like, I will be seeing the world and the experience, and there's going to be things written on walls, and there's going to be probably a droid somewhere talking to you, and they just make it such a great experience. So I mean, I really love Star Tours at Disney. I think that's a fun ride. So this new Rise of the Resistance seems like that, like on crack.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where you interact with characters on your journey through, and but like you play a role in it. It's not just getting on the ride. So yeah, I need to go back.
Yeah, it's looking like my family's going to be there. Yeah, it's looking like my family's going to visit in February. I don't know if I can join, so fingers crossed. But yeah, eventually when I go, like, there's no way I'm missing it.
Totally. Whew. All right. Well, that leaves us with one last little bit of news, guys. And this is coming from Screen Rant website, where we have Star Wars Rise of Skywalker R2-D2 confirmed as Poe's X-Wing co-pilot.
All right.
I'm just going to leave it there. No, I'm not. Okay, so eagle-eyed Star Wars fans have noticed R2 has been sitting in Poe's X-Wing co-pilot seat in multiple recent Rise of Skywalker TV commercials, because this is what we fans do. We record it, we pause it, we rewind it, we rewatch it, the whole thing. So recent spots on the television have featured R2 as the co-pilot. With the release date drawing closer, Disney is releasing some new television advertisement for the film, basically almost on a near daily basis. We've already seen hints of a dark Rey. We've seen a final battle against Kylo, a plethora, which is a fun word to say, of Imperial ships, and the ragtag group of resistance fighters. But one detail, which we now know because I've read it to you already, is now kind of being seen here. So that R2 is placed behind Poe in this scene, proving once and for all that this droid really is the best thing in this entire saga. No, that's not what it says. That's Heather's opinion. But that he is an important figure in the saga's conclusion. Disney has made no real effort to hide R2, although both of the recent scenes featuring the droid do pass rather quickly, specifically with C-3PO, BB-8, and of course we're meeting D-O in this one, so droids everywhere. But we're wondering why. Why is our little blue and white friend, not trash can, been largely ignored in the recent films? Maybe we're about to find out. So
let's see.
Aaron, how are you feeling about R2 getting a new co-pilot?
Well, it's about time. They've not used R2 very much in this trilogy. Yeah, he needs to do more than just be set dressing.
Right.
So yeah, I dig it. We're like a week away.
Oh my gosh.
Rise of Skywalker. I don't know how to feel about it.
So this recording is the 9th, people. That is 10 days.
Yeah. Yeah, and by the time this comes out, it'll be like 8 days.
Oh my gosh.
Man, I just I'm excited. Honestly, I'm excited for Rise of Skywalker. I'm not hyped for it.
Okay.
I am skeptical, like you wouldn't believe. I hope they just throw caution to the wind, and it's the most anime Star Wars we've ever seen. And I hope it's a glorious train wreck. That's all I can say.
Well,
I think that's all they can do.
Yeah.
If they want to, save it. What about you, Heather? You're the droid expert on this podcast.
I mean, I think having started the entire Skywalker saga with R2 and C-3PO as our first two speaking. I'm putting speaking in quotations because I understand that R2 doesn't actually speak. In the,
He expresses himself.
He does. And, A New Hope, that they need to have very pivotal points in the last film, I think. They're the duo that we have loved from the beginning. I mean, they've been in every film. I think what we've seen of C-3PO in the previews, there's still so much to be explained there that I think it makes sense that R2 gets back in his hot seat, where he performs well, where he does what droids need to do. I think it'll be interesting to see what that relationship then with BB-8 looks like. Where is BB-8 going? Does he have a different mission? Is that where Dio comes into play? I have so many new droid questions now. But I'm with Aaron. Let's blow it up and let's just watch this episode and laugh and cry and be upset and then laugh and cry and then go watch it again.
Well said. All right, Heather, let's wrap this episode with a bow and get out of here.
All right. Well, friends, thank you again for listening to another episode of WSTR Galactic Public Access. We are on the social medias. We are WSTR Media. That is one word. It's all lowercase. And we always want to hear from you. Do what Matt did. You can shoot us an email. That's mailbox@wstrmedia.com. You can also comment and you can tweet us. We're also on Apple Podcasts, so don't forget to rate us there. Or give us a phone call. I have cats. They're waiting by phones. It is 630-557-WSTR, which is 630-557-9787. And we will actually put your voice on our podcast. And then you can be like, hey, friends, check me out. I'm on a podcast.
We'll do it.
Just do it. So don't forget to check out our website. We are podcast.wstrmedia.com. You're going to get our full back catalog of episodes there. Don't forget our merch store, store.wstrmedia.com. We've got you covered head to toe, or we've got your friends and family covered head to toe for your, Christmas gifts. And please come check us out on Patreon. We will give you fun things and you help support us. That is patreon.com/WSTR Media. We want to thank our guest again, Mr. Kevin Thomsen, for joining us on the show. Please feel free to check out his nonprofit, the Red Truck Project, bringing different cultures to kids around the world. I think it's a great thing. So check him out there. And then next week, we're going to be at episode 152. And it looks like we are having, Aaron, Phyllis Hatsopoulos. That works too.
Those Greek names, they'll trip you up.
Oh my goodness, I don't know what I'm doing. And he has a Star Wars fan film called Hunted, it looks like. Hunted, a Star Wars fan film. So that'll be interesting.
He hunted us out and sent us an email, and we'll have him on the show.
Then we'll chat about it. And Heather will learn about it, because I know nothing about it. That's what we do on the podcast.
Let's find out together.
Is we learn. All right, so check us out next week. But for this episode, there's only one thing left to do.
Now this
is podcasting.
Be right back. Gonna make an audiobook.